Hello and welcome into the Charm City Sports Podcast. If you've been enjoying the podcast just as we've been enjoying bringing it to you and you would like to get your opinions and or questions answered on air, email me at charmcitysports, capitals BAL at gmail.com to hop in on the conversation. That's Charm City Sports Podcast, capitals BAL at gmail.com. Now, on to the conversation.
You make the magic happen. The magic of Orioles baseball. When the game is close and the O's are hot, there's a thundering roar from 34 to give it all they got. And you never know who's gonna hear the call. Every game there's a different start. That's the magic of Orioles baseball. Orioles magic, feel it happen. Orioles magic, feel it happen. O-R-I-O-L-E-S. Magic.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into another episode of the Charm City Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Hollihan, back here on this Sunday evening discussing the Baltimore Orioles taking 2 out of 3 over the weekend from the Seattle Mariners, and as well as that wild Game 3 against the Toronto Blue Jays. I apologize. Couldn't come on Wednesday. I was busy. Had a friend in town and unfortunately couldn't get on Thursday either and come on and talk about it. But fortunately, we have the present to sit here and discuss the O's winning 3-2 over the Toronto Blue Jays in a game that they jumped on the Jays early with a leadoff homer by Jordan Westburg, and then the offense went quiet. Dead quiet throughout the entirety of the game. Kikuchi, who really, stifled the Orioles, or I should say, sort of stifled the Orioles throughout his start. Only went 4 1/3, gave up 6 hits, the homer, a walk, but punched out 9 O's. Unfortunately for Baltimore, they were unable to do anything offensively. They were able to get on, but unable to do anything. They just could not get the big hit. They couldn't get anything working, and that led to some frustration, a lot of frustration, rather. And especially, when you get Jorge Mateo with the leadoff double, and then you leave him stranded at second. I mean, that's gonna infuriate a lot of your fan base, and it was rough. But fortunately, we go to the bottom of the 9th, and the O's able to work some magic with the top of their lineup coming up. And I mean, thankfully, Jordan Romano, who I got to tell you, how his delivery is not a balk, I need that to be explained, because I, for one, do not understand how it's not a balk. But regardless, Romano comes in, Jordan Westburg singles, leadoff single, 1-2 pitch, which is a slider that caught too much of the plate, and he was able to plant it past IKF. And then Adley Rutschman comes up, and then he plants a ball into the stands in right field. Just tremendous job, tremendous piece of hitting by Adley Rutschman, who, I mean, listen, this is another huge moment by a guy that has really earned it, because he has turned this Orioles team around in the last 2 years. I mean, it's something that you have to And especially after a night where he had 2 homers in one game, and unfortunately they don't come away with the win in the previous game, I should say. And then to get this one that, just clears out. I mean, they had to review it to make sure it did. And, I mean, he pulls this pitch, and he hits it with so much, and, I mean, really lucky that the fan did not touch it, by the way. And he, just uses his muscle, his strength to send it 347 feet, just enough to get over that right field porch. And the O's win 3-2, and they split the series against the Blue Jays. Now, that's all well and good. That's great. You're concerned about the offense, which, the team itself has been, I mean, I don't want to say concerning, because they obviously haven't. But there's been, I would say, a little frustration between the offense at times and the bullpen, at least with me. There are a lot of losses that they should have won if it wasn't for poor pitching out of the pen by Craig Kimbrell. They could have had a couple opportunities to win a few games there if their offense wasn't going silent. So, with that being said, it's very annoying to see, that happen at times where last year it felt like we were so used to them just being able to come through in these types of moments or just throughout the game in which the offense would do enough and the bullpen would be able to close the door with Cano and Bautista. So now we get to the Seattle Mariners series. And in Game 1 on Friday, the O's jump on the Mariners early. Gunnar Henderson with his 4th leadoff homer. And then, in this Mariners team, which is a good Mariners team, to put up 9 runs on them was pretty darn impressive. And especially to see what John Means did out there against Seattle. And another John Means start, solid start out of John Means. Goes 6 innings. Did give up 2 runs on 6 hits, but 4 strikeouts and just battled. I mean, battled his butt off. And that's what you love about what you're seeing out of Means is he's just pitching right now. He's not trying to overpower guys. He's not trying to do too much. He's just going out there and he's pitching. I mean, he's had 3 solid starts in my book. Now, Arizona, I guess I shouldn't say that was solid, but 2 out of the 3 starts have been solid. Arizona was not great. But he did manage to go into the 5th, 4 2/3. So that's where I'd say it was iffy. However, Cincinnati, he looked great, only giving up 3 hits. And then against Seattle, he limits damage, and he just goes out there and he battles. And that's, I think, the beauty of having a John Means right now on your team, of course. And the O's are very, very lucky to have him back. But yeah, and they jumped on the Mariners early. I mean, really jumped on them early. Colton Cowser with the 2-run double. And then, the offense would go silent then for 6 innings until Gunnar Henderson comes up again and triples to left to bring home a run. And then the O's continue to hit. Adley Rutschman with an RBI double. And then Austin Hayes back after a rehab stint, and he gets an RBI single coming up for his, first at-bat of the night, pinch hitting for Ryan O'Hearn, and he pulls through to really, put the cherry on top on the night, and the O's win 9-2. I thought that Austin Hayes in April, I mean, something just didn't look right there. And thankfully, he was able to go to the IL, come back, did well on his rehab assignment, comes back up, and so far he's been doing a nice job pinch hitting. Nice job pinch hitting out of Austin Hayes, especially coming through in that moment. Now Game 2, so Saturday. First start for Austin Hayes this month and comes through on a sac fly. And everything seems to be working. Grayson Rodriguez, who is just so sharp in his first start back, had a no-hitter going through 5 1/3. And that was until Julio Rodriguez got on. And then, fortunately, Rodriguez would be able to get through the inning without giving up a run. The unfortunate part about it is, though, he should have been well in line to get the win. And it stinks that the bullpen couldn't come through. In a Danny Coulombe and Yennier Cano, it's very rare, especially for both of them to combine to only go 2/3 of an inning. Yeah. Only 2/3 of an inning, and they just couldn't get it done. And they had to pull them. And fortunately, those are two guys that you have faith in. I guess I shouldn't say fortunately, but the beauty of it, if there is any, the silver lining, if you will, is that those are two guys you have enough faith in that they'll be able to go out there next time and get the job done. And today, for the team, that's how you had to feel as well. After a tough night with the bats, they came back out. Gunnar Henderson had his 15th home run of the year and his 5th leadoff home run of the year. And then, you see Cedric Mullins go out there and have a good game, and he had a bunt hit on Saturday. And I thought, okay, maybe we'll start to see something happen there. And today he has a multi-hit game. So he's at 194 right now for his batting average. Hopefully he can get to that Mendoza line. But the offense, though, being able to come out and doing what they did, is Colton Cowser would have an RBI single there to take it to 2-0. And Corbin Burns, a 1-2-3 inning 2 at the top of the first, and you felt like everything was going the O's way. But Burns just didn't have, he really didn't have his best stuff. Now, he did have 11 Ks, but remember, he had 3 of them in the first. Now, that's still 8 remaining, which is very impressive, don't get me wrong. But it just wasn't the Corbin Burns that we've seen throughout the year where he's just mowing down lineups. So it was a struggle today, but it wasn't terrible. Only gives up 1 run and battled and just pitched. Unfortunately, Jacob Webb would have a rough day out of the pen. However, fortunately, you spot 5 runs throughout the first 3 innings. Sure, you give up 3 going into the 8th with Jacob Webb giving up 2, but then, all right, well, we already got you 5 runs, so we've given you a nice cushion. So fortunately, there was that, and then Cole Irvin comes out of the pen, does a solid job in 2 innings, giving up 1 hit, and then Craig Kimbrell comes on to get the save. Good to see that out of him. And the O's win the series, now 29-15 on the year. 29-15 for the Baltimore Orioles. Really impressive stuff that we've seen out of this team early on this year. Now, their bullpen and their offense, like I said, it's not terrific, but it's not anything that's not fixable. I mean, it's not a bad problem to have right now. If we're in August and that's happening, okay, now we need to be having a question of what's going on here. Why is the offense so iffy and in and out? But even though it's middle, late May, hey, when we get to Memorial Day, that's when you really want to start playing your best ball. And I don't think we've seen the Orioles' best baseball this year because I feel like there's still more there. I think there's still more to that offense, and I think there's a whole lot more in that bullpen. Now, when I say that, I mean out of Danny Coulombe and Yennier Cano being more consistent. And they have been consistent, but I just mean, with each time out in high-leverage spots. Craig Kimbrell, sure he had a good start today, or good appearance today, but you're not going to get that every time out. And they're going to need to, at some point down the line here, address that. Now, the O's are 2 games back on the New York Yankees, and they're 6 games up on the Tampa Bay Rays, 7.5 up on the Boston Red Sox, and 10.5 up on the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, we'll get to the wild card in a second. O's 6-4 in their last 10 games as well. Now, in the wild card, they currently lead with a 6-game cushion there and 2 on the Kansas City Royals as well. But, it's too early really to be standings watching right now. But in the American League, the way it looks right now, you're looking at this thing and you're saying to yourself, okay, we knew the Yankees were going to be tough coming into the year. I was expecting the Rays or the Blue Jays to be around. Now they're not, the Rays are. I take that back. The Rays are. The Blue Jays aren't. The Red Sox have kind of taken their spot as a team that I thought would be, at this point, around the 500 mark. The Jays are 5 under and are really needing to get with it soon. But you look around and you see the Rangers not really playing their best baseball. The Twins, they've been, they're on a 6-game losing streak after having that crazy, 11-game win streak or something like that at one point, or 10-game win streak. But then you've got, Cleveland, which they're good, but the AL Central, so, you don't really know what to make of them. You know what you just saw in the Mariners. You know how good the Yankees are. Right now it feels like the Yankees and the O's, in my book, are the two teams that are headlining this American League. And I think it's not an incredibly wide margin, but it's a little bit of a margin to then that next tier of teams. Now coming up, the Orioles will have a 3-game series and they'll be on the road for 7, as they'll now take on the St. Louis Cardinals out in St. Louis, Missouri, of course. Now this is going to be, going up against National League or an interleague play now. We'll see what they do. However, they'll be facing some old American League friends in their pitching matchups. As we'll get started with that tomorrow. It's Dean Kramer going out there. He's 3-3 this year with a 3.72 ERA. Made 1 start last year against St. Louis. Went only 4 1/3 innings. Gave up 5 earned runs on 7 hits. That is. Hopefully he'll be better tomorrow night. And Sonny Gray will be going out for the Redbirds. 5-2 this season with a 3.05 ERA. 6-6 with a 4.58 ERA this season. Has given up 3 earned runs in 7 career starts against the O's. But he has had 4 games where he's given up 0 against the O's. And when I say he's given up 3 earned runs in 7 career starts, I mean at least 3 earned runs. There are some there where he's given up 6, he's given up 7. So we know how things can be with Sonny Gray against the O's. We'll see if that continues tomorrow. And then game 2, Kyle Bradish pitching for the O's. No decision so far this year with the 2.63 ERA. Hopefully we can get some offense for Bradish being out there. Has only made 1 start against St. Louis in his career, and that was in 2022. Went 7 innings, only gave up 2 runs on 4 hits. So hopefully we'll see more of that on Tuesday. The O's will be facing Lance Lynn. 1-2 with a 4.17 ERA this year. And against the O's, he's 3-2 with 3.57 ERA in 9 appearances. Game 3 in what could be a rubber match puts John Means, who's 2-0 with 3.06 ERA this season. And last year had that 1 start against the Cardinals. Gave up 3 earned runs on 5 hits. And that's his lone start in his career. And then he'll be facing last year's Baltimore Orioles starting pitcher Kyle Gibson, who's 3-2 with a 4.09 ERA this season. In his career, though, he's 6-2 with a 3.82 ERA. His last start came in 2021 against the Baltimore Orioles. And well, it'll be interesting to see what Gibby's going to do out there. Now, he knows the Orioles hitters. However, Adley Rutschman and James McCann caught Gibby last year. So it'll be interesting to see how that's going to pan out as well. Kyle Gibson, who was just a tremendous player in the clubhouse for the Baltimore Orioles last year, I think that's a guy that, could one day end up as a coach, to say the least. It would be pretty cool to see him as a minor league coach or something, moving forward, because I just think he's, a great presence. What the O's did last year and then the Phillies the year before, and how he's kind of helped in those, common denominator. Those two clubhouses became very tight-knit. So we'll see what he can do with the Cardinals, even though that's right now. I mean, St. Louis is a team that you should take at the minimum 2 out of 3. But with the luck the O's have had against this Cardinals pitching, I'd like to say they could sweep. There is that opportunity. So thanks everyone for tuning into this episode. We'll be back on hopefully, sooner rather than later with more stuff on the O's. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and as always, I'll talk to you next time.